There's no doubt about it, Storm Eowyn was a very severe weather event with the strongest ever recorded gust at Macehead in County Galway. I doubt wind speeds reached 183.5 kilometres an hour, 114 miles per hour here at Clounsnaghta. I am sheltered to some extent by the ridge up the back, and the eucalyptus trees certainly took the sting out of things. Most of them are absolutely solid. This one here was uprooted in the previous storm, and this area over here is always the area that takes the brunt of things, though not from the south easterly or southwesterly direction, southerly direction that Storm Eowyn came in from. These trees here were rocked by the previous storm, which was a northwesterly, and Clounsnaghta here is much more prone to the northwesterlies than the southerlies. It should also be noted that this area was excavated when the house was built, so there's perhaps a foot of topsoil maximum, so these trees really don't have much to get their roots into. Nonetheless, as you can see, the vast majority of them are absolutely solid. I hadn't noticed this one when I did my walkabout the day after Storm Eowyn steamed through. Looks like this one's actually snapped the main root there. Very disappointing, although thinking about it, I'm pretty sure this one was already rocked by previous storms. As you can see though, and as I've said, the vast majority of the eucalyptus here are absolutely solid, dead straight. Storm Eowyn was perhaps the most severe storm Ireland has experienced in recorded history. When I first started planting eucalyptus here, I used to get comments that eucalyptus are shallow rooted and blow over easily in the storms. Out of perhaps 500 eucalyptus trees I've planted here now, maybe 10 have succumbed to the ferocious Storm Eowyn, and last night there was another storm. Definitely not as severe, though impactful nonetheless. So that's 1%, perhaps less than 1%, 2% that have been affected by an historical severe weather event. In my experience, saturated ground is just as impactful when it comes to uprooting trees, and I've noticed there's 2 or 3 additional ones that have blown over in the, wouldn't call it a storm, strong wind. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before, and they've blown over because the ground was already saturated. During January, precipitation is down about 20% on a long-term average, so during the past week or so there's been a significant amount of rainfall. Anyway, in general, during the past 9 to 12 months, in comparison with the previous year, rainfall has been significantly less, and it's very noticeable that there are hardly any slugs around. I've noticed one. So I'm hopeful this year that I'm going to have a lot more success with the Paulownia. Might just about be able to make out the very beginnings of some new growth there. New shoots. Last year the slugs just devoured all the new growth before the Paulownia had a chance to get going. Not so much the larger trees. They didn't quite manage to climb all the way up during the night, but definitely anything that was within 50 centimetres of the ground got decimated with hardly any new growth at all. Another factor for the lack of success with the Paulownia is that they are on a very exposed north facing slope. I did make some effort to, or I'm still making some effort to grow shelter for them, and generally these are parvula. Some of them are still fine with some new growth, although generally quite a few of these have succumbed to the cold and the gales. There is one big factor that has affected the growth of all my trees. These are globulus, and I think pretty much all of these are dead. Those were Galway, a cross with glossines, and again I'd say most of these are dead too. They don't get a lot of sunlight here, and that's a huge factor for all trees. These Paulownia that are in the polytunnel are showing signs of new growth. So as I say, I'm becoming enthusiastic about Paulownia again, since there are no slugs this year. During the past couple of years, I've really struggled with propagation rates. I've had a very high die-off rate, and I've identified that in terms of poor nutrition. I changed the brand of compost I was using for germinating and propagating, and it was deficient in nutrients, both macro, nitrogen, and also trace elements. I'm addressing that this year, and I'm really confident I'll have high quality, vigorous eucalyptus and Paulownia, not just to plant in my patch here, but also for sale. I'm going to be making a much bigger effort to grow my own food this year. So I've been building up this bed with the bark from the firewood I've been chopping up, and also kitchen waste. Sad to see so much in terms of the grapes there being wasted. Still, taste and add, I'm only putting vegetable waste. I'm not a big meat eater, though any meat scraps get chucked out for the fox, and also any unused or from the plugs that haven't grown on, then I'm reusing the compost to build up this bed. I've made a start on digging out this area as a pond. As soon as the weather gets drier, I'll make more of an effort, taking it into more of a pear shape, and I'll sieve out, it's very stony ground here, I'll sieve out the stones and use the soil to further fill up the bed. Quite keen on using actual soil as well as compost, because the soil will contain lots of trace elements. The benefits of good nutrition can't be underestimated. I used to chuck the kitchen scraps and also the grass cuttings in this area, and this nitens, which was very poorly to start with, has thrived, and it has hardly any windburn at all. It's just incredibly resilient. I'm going to have more to say on the essential benefits of high quality nutrition for human beings during the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Been making a few modifications to the heated base. It's worked out fabulous. I'm really pleased I spent the time to build this. It uses soil warming cables. Up until recently I've been using these thermostats, and they're more geared to like reptile enclosures, so you can't set the minimum temperature below 16 degrees C, and I wanted to have a minimum temperature down around 10 degrees C, so these thermostats allow me to do that. By far the most important factor when it comes to germinating, especially eucalyptus seeds, is their quality to start with. Some seed is just like astonishing. You can just sow them, surface sow them, and really within reason, no matter what the temperature is or other conditions, they germinate. Other seed that I've bought that has been poor quality, it doesn't matter what temperature you set them at, how much stratification or not you give them, how much extra light or not you give them, the seed quality is poor and they're not going to germinate. So I'm going to crack on with constructing the wooden surround to enclose the seed trays. Previously I used cat litter to build up a mould, and that did work, although it can be a bit smelly. So as I say, I'm going to build up some wooden surround for the seed trays, and that'll also make it easier to carry out maintenance if required in the future. Before I wrap up, these are Clounsnaghta. Seed for many varieties of eucalyptus is becoming scarce. I'm starting to get a few trees with seed pods, flowers, so really looking forward to having my own seed. They'll probably be hybridized, though I'm not too fussed about that. At least I'll know they're going to be very viable, very fresh. I'll definitely have my own seed of Pulverulenta this year. Pulverulenta, if you're a beekeeper, Pulverulenta are just astonishing. These started flowering within a couple of years of being planted, and as you can see, they're just covered in flower buds. They always are. There's one just about to open there, and that one there opened a couple of weeks ago. So if you've got bees that wake up early, then Pulverulenta are definitely a eucalyptus to consider. Here's one here just about to open, and they'll be a bit soggy due to it being early on in the year and all the storms. Fingers crossed it will dry up, but Pulverulenta, just amazing. Definitely one for the beekeepers. Lastly, this Regnans has just been incredible. Regnans can grow at 3.5 metres per year, and most of them in this area succumbed to the -9 at the end of 2022, though that one there survived and it's thriving. So really looking forward, if possible, to get my own seeds from Regnans, and I've planted loads more. The ones that I've planted, the additional ones, have suffered because of the lack of nutrition, bad nutritional practices. Though it looks like quite a few of them are going to survive, and if they can team up with this one to produce seed, then I will be absolutely delighted. Thanks for taking the time, always appreciated.